The incredible Suzanne Whang.
Vagina. You're welcome. Good evening. Thank you so much to Reverend James for inviting me to speak at my own funeral. Thank you. I'm Suzanne Whang, thank you, and I'm Asian. Thank you. Any other Asians in the house? What? Yay! That's right. Oh, I know you. That's Alex. I'm actually a recovering Asian. What that means is we tend to be perfectionists. So my perfectionism is making me like frantically write notes on this piece of paper, like up until the second I come up here. What if I forget something? And perfectionism can lead to procrastination, which can lead to total paralysis. It's impossible to do it perfectly, so why even bother, right? What if I told you that you're exactly where you're supposed to be right now, and everything is unfolding in divine timing? What if I told you there are miracles happening everywhere, every day, and you can claim yours at any time? What is a miracle? It's commonly thought of as something unexpected, wonderful, amazing, magnificent, surprising, and God-given. Speaking of which, I got a parking space right in front of the church, and that has never happened before. Because my mental equivalent of finding a parking space around here is it's not going to happen, so then it hasn't happened. Except I wrote this talk about miracles, and then look what happened. So my talk tonight is called Miracle, Schmiracle. Any Jews in the house? Koreans are the Jews of Asia. So for me, Miracle, Schmiracle, like, so make it lighter, make it funnier, make it like Miracle, Schmiracle, that's a piece of cake. We can get so significant, can't we? And it's like, oh, it's very profound, it was a miracle. I want to lift that significance off of it and make it more accessible to you, right? So instead of, going out and trying to manifest miracles, you could manifest some schmiracles instead. Yeah. Okay, so on Sunday, Reverend James's talk was entitled To Be or Not to Be, and how that's sort of a false dichotomy because you will always be, you already are, you always were, you are, and you always will be, whether or not you shuffle off your mortal coil. And I find that there's a dichotomy when it comes to miracles too, because if you really think about it in terms of science of mind, both everything is a miracle and nothing is a miracle, right? The truth behind what we commonly call miracles is that it's just the natural and practical use of the mind that allows us to experience things that may seem miraculous, but they're just the results of what we are the mental equivalent of. So Reverend James and I both reversed stage 4 cancer, reclaimed our health, right? And now we're both thriving because that's what we're mentally equivalent to. No miracle there. Now, I know you guys have been reading The Power of Decision by Raymond Charles Barker. Well, Reverend James and I both decided to reclaim our health. We decided to be healthy. There's that Goethe quote about the power of commitment, right? That once you really actually commit and make a decision in your divine path, all of a sudden, all these unexpected miracles start to happen where all the resources and people and circumstances and finances or whatever you need for that to take place just magically come your way, right? But it starts with a commitment, it starts with a decision. Whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it now. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. You need some boldness, don't you, when you get a diagnosis of stage 4 cancer? So there's no surprise element in a miracle when you know how the law of attraction works. So when I experience miracles, I feel delighted, but I'm not surprised because I expect miracles. I embrace all serendipity, and I expect wonderful things to happen every day. Ernest Holmes said in his final sermon, "Many wonderful things have happened that would seem miracles if we did not know about them." Right? So we know. 25 years ago, when I started my acting career, I was told I could never be a successful actress because I was too Asian, I was not Asian enough, I was too flat-chested, I was not pretty enough, blah, 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 blah. Now, if I believed in statistics, I would not have had any success in the entertainment industry. I am 51 years old, I'm a minority, I'm a female, I have 1.5 boobs, so I shouldn't be working at all in this town. And not only am I working, I just got my first starring role in a sitcom, and I'm an Emmy nominee contender for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy Series. What? After 25 years in this business. So let's talk about statistics. Statistics are just numbers and data about what other people have done and created in the past. They don't necessarily have to have anything to do with my present or my future unless I decide they do. There's this expression, you can look at the past, but don't stare. It's rude. Don't be rude. What if the Wright brothers had only looked backwards? They had only looked in the past at statistics to determine whether or not they could ever build an airplane that would go through the sky, right? They would be told, what, statistically? That they have a 0% chance if you look backwards at statistics. So if I believed in statistics, I would never have had success as an actor. I would never have jumped into what I will tell you about soon, which is this crazy bicoastal romance that I'm in. And I would also be dead. I don't know what, if you were told, I didn't look up any of these numbers until after the fact, but the doctors told my best friend that I had a 1% chance of living more than 6 months, and that was 3 years ago, right? She chose not to tell me that because she's my best friend, and she knows that that would have done me no good, you know. Although there are times when people say stuff like that and I go, oh yeah, watch me, right? I was told, you know, whatever, you're too old to be in this business anymore, you're Asian and Asian women aren't funny. I mean, you know, just whatever, because Margaret Cho, everyone knows is not funny. What? So, so I don't believe in statistics, I believe in miracles instead, and when your attitude and your gratitude are high, the miracles can fly. Oh, that rhymed. Maybe I'll write a song. And people have said to me, wow, Suzanne, you are a miracle magnet. How can I do that? I want to be more like you. And my response is, no, be more like you. What if you were more like you? Authentically you. Your highest self. Without all the garbage that you're putting on top of it. Without the facade. Be more like you. I think the reason that I'm a miracle magnet is that I've done a lot of work on being the most like me that I can be. So, how can you be a miracle magnet? Well, as Reverend James likes to say here every Sunday, there's a 3-step process to becoming a miracle magnet. Love only, forgive everything, and remember who you are. So, love only. Come from love. Love only, love all, love everything. Just come from a place of love. Forgive. Forgive everyone, everything, all the time. Not forgive little minor things that, you know, you're in the mood to forgive. Truly forgive everyone, everything, all the time. I think of forgiveness as this divine scissors. So let's say you're a helium balloon and you're tethered by a string to some concrete, right? You know that expression, resentment is like drinking a glass of poison and waiting for the other person to die? The people you resent, they don't know, they don't care. You're the only one that's suffering, right? So resentment is the opposite of forgiveness, I think, right? So think of your resentments as this concrete, and then you are tethered. You're the helium balloon. You're tethered to your resentments. They're concrete, right? If you forgive everything, and forgiveness is this divine scissors, you just cut that toxic umbilical cord and you float to complete freedom and all possibilities. And remember who you really are. So if miracles are God-given, then you gave them to yourself because you are a unique expression of God energy, right? If universal light and God energy goes through a prism and you think of every splinter of light has every spectrum of color, but it's a unique expression of God energy, that's who you are. You are already universal wisdom, infinite power, and radiant light. Have you heard the expression, the drop that contained the sea, or the drop of water that contained the whole ocean? Within a drop of water, it's a microcosm of the entire ocean. Do you understand that?
Yep.
So within one human being, you are a microcosm of all humanity. It's all contained within you. And beyond, you are a microcosm of the entire universe. You are the drop that contains the entire ocean. So you are already a miracle magnet. Don't ask me how you can become one. You already are one. You've just forgotten that you are. So, some of the miracles that I've experienced in my life. One was I got Oprah Winfrey to do a show about The Secret. I sent her a copy of the DVD with a letter in October of 2006. And even though my demon voice was saying, that's a stupid idea, she's already seen it, or she'll never get it, she gets lots of pieces of mail, that's a waste of your time and money. And I just said, shut up, right? What do I have to lose? Write a letter, take the DVD, put it in the mail, right? A month and a half later, I get a call from her chief of staff saying that the most uncanny thing happened, that somebody had dragged her to their house the night before and forced her to watch this movie called The Secret, and she loved it. The next morning, she shows up at Harpo Studios, and on top of her pile of mail is my package that I had sent a month and a half before via Federal Express. So it had to work exactly in that timing, in that divine timing. And I realized that the reason that movie had been out for a year and Oprah hadn't seen it, no one had sent it to her, you know why? Because everyone else listened to their demon voice. Everyone else assumed that she must have already seen it, or that she would never get it if they sent it to her. Luckily, I didn't listen to that voice. So, some people might call that a miracle. But here's the thing. Mother Teresa said you cannot do great things, you can only do small things with great love. It's a small gesture to write a letter and take a DVD and put it in the mail and send it to somebody. But I did it with so much love, love only. I did it with only love. I infused it with so much love and a clear, high intention of what that could do to people on the planet. Even if one person was like, even if one person sort of cracked the door open a tiny bit to some, principles of spiritual philosophy and quantum physics, fantastic. And then look what happened, right? That's just because I got out of the way of that limited thinking. Then cancer. So I had breast cancer 3 times in 6 years because, like most Asians, I'm an overachiever. Doing it 3 times, and I'm so awesome. And the 3rd time it became stage 4. And my sitcom will be called 1.5 Boobs. Yay! Another Emmy for me in the future. So when I first got the call saying that my test came back positive for breast cancer in 2006, the very first time, I was on the phone and I said, wow, this is going to be great material for my stand-up comedy act someday. And the doctor said, excuse me? And I said, I mean, tragedy plus time equals comedy, so this is gonna kill! And then I said, wait a minute, are you sure? My boobs are so small. How is this even possible? Maybe you should check again. And she says, you need to get here right away and get some surgery right away. So my journey with cancer really, it started with Western medicine, then I abandoned Western medicine and went totally Eastern medicine, and I did holistic things and revolutionary things and illegal things, and I left the country, and then I did some more Western medicine. I ended up having back surgery, hip replacement surgery, radiation, an oral form of chemotherapy, which, by the way, they said was perfectly safe, but they said make sure to wear your safety gloves and goggles when you handle the pills. Let me understand. Okay, so you don't want me to touch this pill or get it anywhere on my skin, right, or near my eyes, but you want me to eat it? And by the way, why am I wearing goggles? Do you think that I'm going to aim for my mouth and suddenly go, oh, oops, oh my God, I'm so confused. What am I doing? Anyway, I also did things like change my lifestyle. I changed what I eat. I eat healthier now. I changed what I drink. I changed what I think. I started to laugh more. I started to meditate, finally. That's the thing about creating and manifesting. If you start out like I used to, not meditating, and I wake up in the morning and be like, it's like a chaos party, right? That's what I'm creating. Whatever is in here gets outpictured in my experience, right? So meditation at least gives me a blank slate to create with. Oh, excuse me, sorry about that. So I changed my lifestyle. But the reason that I finally started to get better, and I don't know if you had a similar experience from James, was that I had to finally learn this lesson. I had spent my entire life saving and helping and fixing and rescuing everybody around me and not letting anybody in. There's this expression, we are only as sick as our secrets. In Asian culture, it's considered disgusting and bad taste and, low class to ever let anybody know that anything's going wrong. So, we're supposed to be like, oh, I don't know, no, everything fine, don't worry, everything perfect, no, I very healthy. Like, that's what we're supposed to be like, everything's fine, like plastic smile. And, that kept me sick. So I finally came out of the cancer closet. I had cancer for 5 years before I sort of told anybody but, a tiny number of people. And what happened was, I didn't want to burden anybody. That's why I didn't tell anybody. And every single person I thought was my friend in LA, it turns out was. People rushed to my house. And not only did they rush, they didn't come begrudgingly or resentfully. They came so ecstatic to finally reciprocate. And they said to me, you don't even realize that you've been gypping us out of half of a friendship. I said, what are you talking about? Well, when we're not doing well, we tell you and you rush in and love us back to life. When you're not doing well, nobody knows. You don't give us the joy of loving you back to life. So there were times when I was in bed, unable to move in my house for about 3 months. And sometimes my house would have 20 people in it. People were making food and scrubbing the floor and walking my dog and singing me songs or bringing over funny movies to watch. Or my girlfriend Priscilla, she came over, and because I couldn't bend over because of one of the surgeries, I sat in the bathroom and she shaved my legs. And you might have to be a woman to really understand the intimacy and the beauty of that gesture of friendship. So I was literally loved back to life. I was loved back to life in the way that I've loved my friends back to life. Another miracle that took place recently is that there's a man named Jay Nickerson who I have been friends with and secretly in love with for the past 20 years. But he was married and I always had a boyfriend. So I just kept my feelings in a compartment on a shelf, but we've been good friends for 20 years. 3 years ago, he and his wife split up, and he was devastated. But I would talk to him about it, and we stayed good friends all through his transition back into the world of being single again. And about a year and a half ago, I get a letter from him via email late one night, completely in French. And I don't even know he speaks French, but he knows that I speak French. And in French, it basically said, "My dear Suzanne, I have been secretly in love with you since the moment we met 20 years ago, but I had to put my feelings in a compartment on a shelf. My youngest doesn't go off to college until 2019. I know your life and work are in Los Angeles and my life and work are in New York City. I'm hoping that in 2019 we can be together. Pardon me if I'm being too forward, but I've had a couple of glasses of wine. Love, Jay." And I'm sitting there looking at it going, what? So I instantly write back, "I have been in love with you since the moment we met 20 years ago. On Leave's graduation day in 2019, meet me at the top of the Empire State Building." By the way, it turns out that I thought to myself, wow, he speaks really bad French. It turns out that when he wrote the letter in English, he thought it sounded so awkward and not romantic enough. He Google translated it into French. He just cut and pasted it into Google Translate and then sent it as is. And I was like, which is so even more adorable and romantic to me. Anyway, we got married in October of last year. We couldn't wait until 2019. We got married at the Church of St. Paul and St. Andrew in the Upper West Side of New York City. On the second floor, the West End Theater is where we first met 20 years ago, doing a play called My Sister Eileen at the West End Theater. And so we got married where we first met 20 years ago. Incredible. Another incredible detail is that he remembers the dress that I wore to play my character. It was a 1940s play. I wore a bright yellow dress, short sleeved with black polka dots, knee length, and a black pillbox hat with a mesh veil. And he remembered it. He brought it up when we started our romance, and I remembered it too, and neither of us care anything about fashion. So I thought, wouldn't it be amazing if I could surprise him, because this is my second wedding, and who's gonna wear white? Who's a virgin? Come on. Anyway, I thought, what if I could surprise him by finding a dress that's even remotely like this dress that I wore so long ago? So I started going around to vintage clothing stores in LA and looking on the internet, and I couldn't find, anything. And then I have a friend, Kelly, are you here?
Yes.
Kelly Ebstrey. So my friend Kelly Ebstrey is an eBay expert, right? So I tell her, hey, here's the kind of thing I'm looking for my wedding dress. If in your eBay journey you encounter anything remotely like this, would you let me know? And then about 30 minutes later, she emails me a link. It's just a link to click on. No words before it or after it. I click on it, and you guys, it's not a similar dress. It is the dress that made its way to Georgia. It's extra small, 26-inch waist. It's $120, so I purchase it immediately. Who gets their wedding dress for $120, right? I buy it thinking, it's gonna arrive and it's gonna be long-sleeved and purple. Like, there's no way that this could really, you know what I mean? Could this really be? And I get it, and I put it on, and I start to cry, because it's the same dress. I even have a cast photo from 1993, and I was comparing the pattern of the polka dots of the dress with the pattern in the photo. It's the same. So the only thing left that I needed, and I was so excited I said, sweetie, the only thing I want you to be traditional about our wedding is I don't want you to see me in the dress until I walk down the aisle. He said, okay, that's fine. So now all I need is a black mesh veil like I wore to play my character Violet. So, thanks to Facebook, I received a Facebook message right after I found the dress, and the only thing that I needed left was the hat and veil. And it says, Dear Suzanne, you have no idea who I am, but I'm your biggest fan ever. My name is Sherry. You saved my life 8 years ago. I was diagnosed with Graves' disease, and I went completely blind in both eyes. I was so depressed and suicidal. My teenage daughter brought my laptop to my bed every day and would play my favorite show, House Hunters. Even though I couldn't see your face, I could hear your voice. And I find your voice to be incredibly healing and soothing. It got me through that horrible period of my life, and you prevented me from killing myself. I am now completely recovered. I have regained my eyesight, and I'm doing with my life what I've always wanted to do and dreamed of. I have my own business, and I custom design bridal hats, veils, and headpieces. I noticed on Facebook that you're engaged. It would be my honor to design something for you. It's the least I could do for saving my life. Love, Sherry. What are you talking about? So she custom makes something. She mails it to New York City. It gets there in plenty of time. And I did indeed have the best wedding ever. Some of you were at the wedding. And my favorite moment was walking down that aisle with my dad, walking down the aisle, and seeing the look on Jay's face. He couldn't believe it. He assumed that I had had it custom made, but it was so much better that I got to tell him, like, no, it's the dress. So here's my point. Miracles happen every day and are ever available to claim. They only require an open heart, right? Jay decided to take a really bold move and just express his love to me, knowing that I might say, oh, that's problematic and we can't be friends anymore. He took that risk. Have an open heart. Stay in the present moment. Be willing to release whatever is blocking you from the experience of a miracle. Sometimes they require revealing a secret that you're ashamed to admit. Maya Angelou once said, there is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside of you. Oh. In my experience, I find extraordinary in the ordinary. There are miracles in the mundane if you just bask in what's really happening. Have you ever stared at a caterpillar? I mean, just stared at one and seen it move through space? Have you seen it become a butterfly? It is a beautiful and fascinating thing to see, but is it unlikely for a caterpillar to turn into a butterfly? No, it's inevitable. Miracles are inevitable. Just allow them to come to you. They're actually on their way to you, you guys, every day, but you have your armor up or your eyes closed, or you're hiding under your bed. It reminds me of, have you ever done this? I've actually done this multiple times. I'm like in my house, right? And I'm like, I gotta collect my things, and I'm on the phone with my mom, right? And I'm getting like my purse, and I'm desperate because the only thing left that I need to find is my cell phone. And I can't find it, right? And I'm gonna be late. And finally, I'm like, oh, and yeah, mom. And I walk by this mirror, and I look, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm on my cell phone. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's what it's like with miracles, right? It's like, where's my miracle? It's like, you're on it. You're actually on it. You're on it right now. Where is it? Every so-called miracle that I've manifested in my life happened simply because I released whatever was blocking it from happening. Whatever was clouding my vision or blocking my heart. Interestingly enough, my journey with cancer, I ended up with a huge tumor directly over my heart. And when they removed it, it got infected and it opened up. Literally, you guys, opened up, and it formed a crater where my boob used to be. A crater. Think about the symbolism of that. The experience cracked my heart open. A dear friend of mine told me that she noticed that when I meet a new person, I start out by loving them. I start with an open heart. Then if they give me a reason to step back or set a boundary, I will, but I begin by loving them. Love only. By the way, what a beautiful gift for a friend of mine to notice that about me and then tell me that. I think that's why people want to be around me. Another friend of mine told me years ago that when we're having a conversation, I make her feel like she's the only human being in the world. I give her my full attention so that she feels honored, respected, seen, heard, recognized, and valued. Do you do that with the people in your life? Do you love them fully? Do you begin by loving them? Do you start every day by loving them? Do you forgive them for everything and anything that they've ever said or done? Do you make them feel like they're the only person in the world? Like dogs do. If you have a dog, you know this. You come home and the dog's like, oh my God, yay! Like they've never seen you before, right? Let's start doing that with each other, shall we? In fact, turn to somebody near you, just look at them and say, I love you. Not from a romantic place, but from a human being place. Just truly from a human place, just tell someone else that you love them. You're part of a human family. Love you. Do I need to wrap this up? Okay, I'm sorry. So, all right, hang on. So, Brené Brown, if you haven't seen her TED Talk about the power of vulnerability, she talks about how we all crave connection. We are hardwired to want to connect with other people. True connection comes from authenticity. Authenticity comes from your willingness to be excruciatingly vulnerable. Reveal what's the most personal for you, and it will be the most universally received. Maybe not in the specifics, but in the humanity of your experience. So, I want to do this here sometime, Reverend James, but I've created something called The Playing Field, which is a weekly workshop for artists and communicators of any type. Currently, I have people who are actors, writers, singers, musicians, dancers, keynote speakers, painters, sculptors, filmmakers, stand-up comedians, poets, rappers, anything goes. And I want to end with this. If you want to come and have some assistance in expressing your creative self, then you can come to The Playing Field. Emotion stands for E, energy, in motion. It's meant to be in motion. Get it moving. Unexpressed emotion becomes injury and illness. After you laugh or cry, how great do you feel? Express your souls no matter what you do for a living. Whatever is blocking you from becoming a miracle magnet, it might be unexpressed emotion and unexpressed creativity. It is completely normal to be a miracle magnet. The opposite of war is not peace. What? What'd she say? The opposite of war is not peace, in my opinion. The opposite of destruction is not stasis. The opposite of destruction is creation. Therefore, I think the opposite of war is art. Claim the artist in you. Release whatever is blocking you. Claim the miracles that abound. They're everywhere. Namaste.